John Quincy Adams and his father John Adams became the first father and son presidents. Interesting enough, John Quincy Adams became the first president that wasn't from the founding fathers. After answering a question, Adams collapses to the floor and is taken to the speaker's room. He dies days later, and the people in office asks for volunteers on who will take his funeral rites and carries him out. One man rose his hand and volunteered to do it. That man was none other first-term congressman no one had heard of by the name of Abraham Lincoln. The shortest term a president served was 31 days by William Henry Harrison after not wearing a coat on raining days. The longest term a president has served was Franklin D. Roosevelt with 4,422 days. The reason for that was because the US was in the middle of a war. Martin Van Buren, the 8th president, is sometimes credited with creating the expression "OK." Van Buren was from Kinderhook, New York. During his campaign, Old Kinderhook OK clubs formed to support the president. Later, OK came to mean all right. Ironically enough, the most likely date for a president to die is July 4th, the day the United States won its independence. It all began with John Adams' final words. Thomas Jefferson survives, not knowing that Thomas Jefferson had passed away a couple hours earlier, both dying on July 4th, 1826, and James Monroe dying on July 4th, 1831. George Washington owned a green field. On April 25, 1865, Abraham Lincoln's funeral was being displayed in New York City. What's interesting about it is that the upper left corner of the photograph, you can spot a young Teddy Roosevelt and his brother Elliot watching from the second-floor window. Andrew Jackson took a man's life during a duel. What's interesting enough, he was not charged for any of his crimes. Furthermore, his vice president would later on have a duel with Alexander Hamilton, one of the founding fathers, in which he took his life. Lyndon B. Johnson was scheduled to go on a bomber flight in the Pacific Ocean, but then nature called at what turned out to be a miraculously opportune time. Johnson had to go to the bathroom so bad that he stepped off the plane, and by the time he was done, it had already taken off. The plane, called the Wabash Cannonball, ended up being shot down by Japanese forces in New Guinea. Everyone on board passed away. George Bush did 9/11. There are many claimed coincidences with the assassinations of US Presidents Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. Both presidents were elected to Congress in '46 and later to the presidency in the '60s. Booth ran from a theater and was caught in a warehouse, while Oswald ran from a warehouse and was caught in a theater.